The Maine Heritage Policy Center is a conservative think tank located in Portland, Maine. Focusing on public policy issues, the center is led by J. Scott Moody, CEO and Chief Economist.
Well, the Maine Heritage Policy Center was founded 11 years ago, and our mission is to promote free market policies and constitutional government as solutions to Maine's economic problems. And we do that in a number of ways through various issues that we deal with. Like right now, we're dealing with Medicaid expansion, for example, and that fits primarily into our fiscal center, but also cross-pollinates into our healthcare center as well, which we also have. Well, MHPC is a nonpartisan organization, so we will work with a Democrat or Republican in terms of the issues. What we're concerned about is that, again, from a free market principle or a limited government standpoint, that the issue is promoted into public policy. We've looked at educational issues, we've looked at constitutional government issues, transparency issues, and right now our biggest transparency initiative is the Maine Wire.
The Maine Wire is an online news service that provides a conservative free market perspective on current events, both here in Maine and nationally. Mostly political news and public policy. We have a strong focus on what's going on in Augusta. All manner of legislation. We'll write about something that's happening on the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee if we feel it's pertinent to our readers. We exist to serve a right-of-center news reading public in the state that we believe is underserved by current mainstream news media. Our audience is anyone in Maine, really, anyone in New England. But I think we specifically cater to, we have a twofold emphasis. The first is people in rural Maine outside of, say, Portland and Augusta who believe that their opinions aren't adequately reflected in the Bangor Daily News, or who feel like they are not getting the whole story when they're reading the Portland Press Herald. But we also serve a smaller audience in Augusta.
And we influence public policy by educating both voters and policymakers on the issues. So we write, number one, everything starts here with a policy study. So we do a policy study on an issue, and then we promote it either directly through our monthly luncheons, for example, where we actually talk to people about them, or indirectly, and that can be done through, say, social media or traditional media where we talk to reporters.
We just recently had an investigation into the partisan behavior of nonpartisan staffers at the Office of Policy and Legal Analysis in Augusta. Joe Sixpack doesn't care about that, but that has triggered Republican lawmakers to call for a state house-wide investigation of all of these nonpartisan activists. So both giving the average person a fair perspective on current events that doesn't come with a liberal bias is one of the things that we do, but also working to promote investigative journalism that will influence the going-ons in the State House. So we kind of have a twofold focus. The website is very interactive. Comments, there can be reader comments on all of the articles. We accept letters to the editor, opinion editorials. So yeah, we encourage reader participation, and we get a lot of it. Some of it is friendly, some of it is encouraging, and other of it's a little bit more hostile.
Well, Medicaid expansion is sort of the current incarnation of the problem we face, a big problem that we face as a state, and that's government dependency. So right now, our studies have shown that if we get Medicaid expansion, there will be more people on government welfare than work a private sector job. Okay, so that's the major problem that we face. So organizationally, we've launched the Free Me initiative, where the only way we're going to get control of government dependency is by growing the economy, making people wealthier so they don't need government assistance. And so what Free Me will do is it'll eliminate the state income tax, corporate income tax, and the sales tax, starting in the most economically distressed areas in the state. Well, of course, Maine is a blue state and generally not receptive to our ideas of limited government and free market principles. So in terms of actual policy, being enacted. It's more about really preventing, from our perspective, bad policy from getting implemented. Medicaid expansion is case in point. But we've had some successes over the years, one of which is Dirigo. I don't know if you know what Dirigo is. Dirigo was basically Maine's attempt before Obamacare to have a state-based single-payer healthcare system. That program will be officially phased out next year. Governor LePage put in a phase out of Dirigo when he was elected, so it'll officially be gone next year. And that was a huge battle. I mean, early as a think tank in our career, Dirigo was just enacted. It was the wave of the future. It was going to solve all of our healthcare problems. And instead, what it did was cost a lot of money and insured very few people. Sounds a lot like Obamacare right now. And Obamacare, in a lot of ways, took its precedence from Dirigo in terms of its structure and how it's being implemented. So that was a major success to see that defeated. Unfortunately, now we have it elevated at the national level, and we have to defeat it there again. So our primary initiative is in Augusta for state policymakers, but that's not necessarily all that we do. There are a lot of issues that are local based, for example, property taxes. Right. So we've done a lot of work when we ran our Taxpayer Bill of Rights initiative a couple of years ago. That was aimed at limiting the growth in government, not just at the state level, but also at the local level.
I think groups like the Maine Heritage Policy Center play a very important role in the state as being the standard bearer for what conservative thought is and what it means when it's translated into public policy.
Through the Maine Wire and multiple public policy investigations, the Maine Heritage Policy Center continues to provide an important source of education as well as an outlet for conservative political participation in Maine.